this guy says the horse can do. If he says the horse can.
Welcome to Odds and Ends, and I am your host, Mike Tice, in morning. Have my black shirt on after an 0-5. 0-5 picket last week. I didn't hit a damn game. But 15-15 for the season, going into week 7, which began Thursday night with the Eagles winning 22-21 over my New York Gents. Hey, I'll tell you, Daniel Jones laid that ball out there for Evan Engram, tight end, and if he catches that ball, that game is over. That's similar to what happened to the Vikings a couple of weeks ago on 4th and inches when they don't make the first down. That game would have been over, but hey, that's football. It's a game of inches. COVID-19 is still the story. The Raiders, 5 offensive linemen in the COVID protocol. Looks like there were no positive tests Saturday coming out of Friday's testing. So 4 of those offensive linemen should be active for the game. The Saints have 2 starting wide receivers out. Wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders also tested positive. No other positive tests with the Saints coming out of Friday's testing. So that means Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, 2 starting wideouts, are out for the Saints as they get ready for their game this week. Hey, scoring is still off the charts. The most total points through 6 games, 4,621. The most total points, the Ravens have 179 total points. Most total points per game through 6 games, 50.8 total points. That's a lot of scoring. 6 teams are averaging 30-plus points a game. The Seahawks lead the way, 33.8. The Titans, 32.8. The Packers, 32.4. And the Steelers, getting ready for that big game against the Titans, are averaging 31.2 points per game. The Saints, 30.6. We'll see what happens with no starting wide receivers. And the Raiders, 30.2 points per game, coming off that big bye weekend they had in the Kansas City win 2 weeks ago. Hey, most total touchdowns, offense, defense, and special teams through 6 games, 530 touchdowns. The Seahawks leading the way because there's the most offensive touchdowns, also a record, 509. But check this one out. The Seahawks have 23 touchdowns, and the Cardinals are number 2 with 21 touchdowns, getting ready for that game that was flexed to Sunday night. What a big game that's going to be. Hey, players who got off in week 6. Running back Derrick Henry, I think everybody witnessed that 212-yard rushing game, 2 TDs, and that big 94-yarder. Hey, the quarterback, Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons, 30 of 40, 371 yards, and 4 touchdowns against the Vikings. What a great performance by Matty Ice. The highest passer rating through 6 games, 94.1, and the highest completion percentage, 65.5%, as more teams are getting the ball into the hands of their athletes and allowing them to do some damage with that football. Hey, 2020 is the first time through 6 games that at least one game and one team came back from a 16-point deficit to win. That's fantastic. 68.1% of all games are within 8 points in the fourth quarter. I know the NFL and television networks love that. And loving that, 50.5% of all the games played so far this season have been decided by 8 points or fewer. Close games this year, and that makes it fun for all the fans. Hey, fantasy football time, pickups and play-ems. Wide receiver T. Higgins of the Bengals, got to pick him up. They're playing the Brownies. The Browns have led up the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. And pick up running back Jerick McKinnon from the 49ers as Raheem Mostert, starting running back, is out with an ankle injury. And wide receiver Stephon Diggs of Buffalo, pick him up. He's the 3rd most receiving yards, 555 yards, and the Jets D is 23rd in pass defense. Listen, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to pick 5 games, get back on track, get off this black shirt next week, And we'll see you in a second with more of Odds and Ends.
This guy says the horse can do. If he says the horse can
Welcome
do.
back to Odds and Ends. Well, let's start these picks, and we'll go with the 1 p.m. Eastern time game, the big game. Boy, it should have been flexed to Sunday night, but here we go. 5-0 Steelers, +5 in the turnover differential at the 5-0 Titans. They are tied for first in the turnover differential with a +6. Linebacker Devin Bush is out for the season for the Steelers. That's a big loss. Rookie wide receiver Chase Claypool is tearing it up. He leads all rookies with 6 total touchdowns. Derrick Henry, number 1 in rushing, 588 yards rushing per game. The Steelers, rush D is number 2 in the league, only allowing 66.2 yards per game. The Titans are number 2 scoring per game at 32.8 points a game, and the Steelers are number 3 in scoring defense, only giving up 18.8 points per game. Something's got to give there. The Steelers also number 1 in sacks with 24 total sacks, and the Titans tear it up when they get into the red zone. They have a TD percentage of 78.26%. Hey, I like the Steelers in this one, +1.5. Too much firepower on defense. I think they can stop the run. The 4:05 p.m. Eastern time game, the 4-2 Bucks, they travel to Las Vegas and take on the Raiders. They're coming off a bye and that big win of KC. The Bucks, of course, coming off that blowout victory over the Packers, 38-10. There's been a COVID disruption with the Raiders and their O-line this week. Quarterback Tom Brady, wide receiver Chris Godwin, wide receiver Mike Evans, who's getting healthy, tight end Rob Gronkowski, who's getting his legs underneath him. Whew. But the story is that Tampa Bay D, they're number 1 in rushing defense, only giving up 64.3 yards per game. They're number 2 in sacks, 22 sacks a game. The Raiders have secondary issues, but the offense, their third down offense, is number 3, 52.31% conversion. That's pretty damn good. And their passing offense is 5th in the league, 278.4 yards per game. But I like the Bucks, -4, traveling to Las Vegas. A 4:25 p.m. Eastern time game. The 3-3 49ers travel to the 2-3 Patriots. Jimmy G came off a big bounce-back game last week. Running back Jerick McKinnon, well, he'll have to go in there and act like a starter for the injured Raheem Mostert. George Kittle, what a man. Wide receiver Deebo Samuel getting his legs underneath him after missing a bunch of games due to an injury. Quarterback Cam Newton's got to get that passing game going. They're running the ball great, New England, but they got to be able to throw the football. The 49ers have 2 safeties out. But I like the 49ers to travel to New England, getting 2.5 points. That's 3 road teams I'm picking. Could there be a 4th? Well, the 8:20 flex game, the 5-0 Seahawks at the 4-2 Cardinals. Good football game. Quarterback Russell Wilson, 19 TD passes, leads the league. His 129.8 quarterback rating also leads the league. The Seahawks are +6 in that turnover differential. I make a big deal about that because the 5 teams that have the best percentage of differential in the turnovers are 25-2 for the season. The Titans, the Seahawks, and the Steelers are in the top 5, and their records combined are 15-0. So I think that's a big stat to look at. I know some have questioned that. Wide receiver DK Metcalf, wide receiver Tyler Lockett, running back Chris Carson. The Seahawks are number 1 in red zone offense, 88.89% touchdown percentage. But the Cards are number 2 in red zone defense and number 2 in red zone offense. This should be a great matchup. That's explosive. Kyler Murray, the Seahawks, number 1 in scoring. The Cards are number 2 in scoring defense, only giving up 18. Something's got to give, but I like the Seahawks. Traveling to Arizona, -3 to win and go 6-0. Hey, I'll be back in a minute with my pick of the week. Boy, what a great slate of games this week. in the
If
National
he says the
Football
horse
League.
can do, can do, can do.
Welcome back to Odds and Ends, and now my pick of the week, Monday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Those 5-1 Bears, wow, +1 in the turnover differential. They're traveling to the 4-2 Rams, -1 in the turnover differential. There's been some reports out there that were false, saying they were +5, so those are typos. They lost to the 49ers last week, 24-16. While the Bears beat the Panthers 23-16. Quarterback Nick Foles doing enough for the Bears. The defense, wow, the Bears defense, they're #1 in red zone defense, #2 in third down defense, led by Khalil Mack, 4.5 sacks, Akeem Hicks, 4 sacks. What a big difference he made coming back from injury last year. Wide receiver Allen Robinson having a great year. Tight end Jimmy Graham really doing a great job in the red zone. The Rams, however, quarterback Jared Goff having a great year. Defensive tackle Aaron Donald, wow, #1 in sacks, 7.5 sacks. The 3 players, though, did not practice Thursday. Key players for the Rams, Robert Woods, Darrell Henderson, running back, and tight end Tyler Higbee, who's having a good year. We'll see how that plays out as the week progresses. Hey, but I like an upset pick here. I'm going with 5 road teams. The Bears, +6. I like the Bears in this game. Hey, I hope all your teams win. I hope all your teams cover. I hope you stay safe. Wear a mask, social distance. We'll talk to you next week on Odds and Ends.
This guy says the horse can do. If he says the horse can do, can do, can do.